Greetings everyone this morning. I'm gonna do a few little odds and ends things in here this morning, and I'm not just sure what all I'm gonna whip up, but I wanted to show you. I bought some chicken thighs, and with what I'm gonna use them for, I like to buy the bone-in thighs, because when you cook them, that gives them more flavor. And I can't use this many at once, so what I'm going to do is cook all of them and cook them all up in the pan. And I'm going to show you how I do that. And then that way, I can have them for later. And I'm going to take these out of the package, put them in here and rinse them off. There's 6 in here. And I've got a pan of water on the stove boiling, or coming to a boil. And when it comes to a boil, I'm going to put this chicken in there. And it's just about ready to do that. I'm just going to rinse all this off. And I'm going to leave all the skin on there too, because I want some good rich broth, and I'm going to save the broth from this chicken, and then I'll debone it. But whenever you cook this chicken with the bone in it, it takes, after you put it, get the water to boiling, and you put the chicken in, it takes about 45 minutes for the chicken to get done. If you do boneless thighs, it only takes about 30 minutes. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to set that right there. I didn't get my trusty little frisbee out, did I, Noah? Okay, I need to move that. And this water's just about coming to a boil. So whenever I get the chicken in there, I'm going to let it cook for 45 minutes. And I'm going to put a lid on it because that helps keep all the vitamins and things in your pan, and doesn't let them all boil away out into the air. Okay. And it is starting to come to a boil. I can't get my camera to go up any higher. I don't know. I thought it used to go up higher. And I've got it up just as high as I can get it. I think I do. Yep. Okay. You know, they say, you know what they say about the water when you're boiling it, the watch pot never boils. But it's coming to boil. It's coming really fast. But you don't want to put your chicken in there till it starts boiling really good. And you want to make sure that there's enough water in the pan to cover the chicken. Anyway, you can't see that very well. Tip that over. But it is starting to come to a nice rolling boil. So it's 45 minutes for bone-in thighs, 30 minutes for boneless thighs. Okay? So I'm going to drop the thighs in the water. Okay. Of course, that makes it stop boiling for a little bit. And I'm going to keep the heat up till it goes back to boiling. And then I'll turn it down and we'll cook it for 45 minutes. Then I'm going to come back and show you some other things that I'm going to be doing today. But I wanted to show you how I do this chicken, because that way I can buy a little more chicken, get it cooked up, get it deboned, save the broth, use the chicken, either put it in the freezer or part of it and use part of it. But that way it's cooked up and I don't have to worry about it going bad or anything, because I've already got it cooked and all. So, okay, I'm gonna hop off real quick and be back in a little while. Okay, now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook up some Italian sausage. And I'm gonna put it in this skillet right here. And that's about a pound of sausage. And I'm gonna get out my little chopper. Whoa. You know what I'm gonna do? I've changed my mind. Changed my mind. I need my arm brace on. Okay. I'm putting this sausage in this little pan of water. And I'm going to cook it in here. Then I'm going to put it back in the skillet and brown it up. It just, I just can't stand there and chop this up. So I'm just kind of crumbing this meat up in the water. It doesn't hurt the flavor of it at all. It just cooks it. And then you can, and I'll show you, I'll put it in a skillet and brown it up after it gets cooked. But that way it's all separated and fine and not in big hard hunks, which I don't like. Don't like it in big pieces. I don't know what that is, but I don't want that in there either. This is sweet Italian sausage. And you can cook this up ahead of time and even put this in your freezer. Sometimes it's better to do that, and then it's already ready for you when you get ready to make whatever it is you're going to make. But I'm going to let that cook for just a little bit. I'm going to go wash my hand. And when I get this sausage done, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put some vegetables in the skillet with it. And we'll take a look at the chicken and see how it's doing. It's got about 28 minutes left, and it's doing good. I put a little salt in the water, and I've turned the burner down, so but it's still boiling, but it's not just a hard boil. So, as soon as this meat gets done, I'll be back with you. Okay, I've got the sausage cooked. The chicken still has about 15 minutes, and then it is going to be done. But this is what I'm going to do with this sausage. I'm going to put it over. I've got this skillet on behind me with some olive oil in it. And I'm going to put all this meat over here. I do this to my hamburger too, and it just, I need to have my brace on. I don't have it on. But anyway, it helps me be able to cook this and get it in smaller, finer pieces. Turn the light up just a little. There's a few little pieces left in here. I'm trying to get all the meat out. And then turn the light up. And move this over to the sink. I'm gonna move this up to the front burner. There. Just stirring this around in a little olive oil, and that's gonna brown it up a little bit. Salt and pepper, a little salt. We may add more when we decide what all we're going to put in here. I've got some onion cut up, and I've got some pepper cut up. Some green pepper, and I'm going to cut up a red pepper, and I'm going to cut up some cabbage and put in there right now. Turn my camera around so you can see what I'm doing. kind of taking out whatever I've got in the refrigerator that I want to use in here. And just making up some good things to eat. I love cooked cabbage. Usually I put the cabbage in first to get it cooked, but since I boiled this meat, I want it to have a lot more flavor. So I'm going to put the cabbage in with the meat. That's looking yummy. Cut up this red pepper. Cut up a few mushrooms in here. But I'm going to let this cabbage cook and get a little more tender before I put the onions and peppers in. And I'm going to put just a tiny bit of water in there because I don't want it to, it needs to have a little moisture in there with it. I'm not putting very much. I may have to come back and add a little more, but just going to put a little water in there with it. And okay, and I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm ready to put the peppers, onions in it. And yes, if you haven't heard, this is a Frisbee that my grandson gave me, Noah, and I use it for everything. I use it to flour my meat, I use it to drain things, and I'm going to use it here when I drain this chicken. Stir this up in here and let that cook, and I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more water to that. And I think it needs a little bit more water. Okay. Now, that's going to cook. Get all cooked up. I'm going to go ahead and add some tomatoes to this. Some diced tomatoes. Then we're going to take the chicken up. Turns on that, gets it around the jar, around the can. Okay, so I'm going to add, to this these diced tomatoes. Ooh. You can just put anything in here you would like, but I'm just kind of, since it's Italian sausage, I'm kind of trying to make a little Italian dish. Oh, this looks so good. Okay. Turn that back up. We're going to be adding some rice and some tomato sauce and some Italian seasoning and some butter and some mushrooms. I'm going to put just a little bit more pepper on here. And it may need some more salt. I'll taste it a little bit later for the salt. Now for the chicken. The chicken is done. And I'm going to move it to this strainer. And I got my Frisbee underneath here to catch the drips. And we're going to be letting this chicken cool out. And all this good broth that's left, I'm going to put in containers and put in my freezer. So whenever I need any chicken broth, I will have some. And like I said, when you leave the bone in, it makes the broth so much more richer. There's the nice broth. And there's quite a bit, because I did cover the chicken. So I'm going to slide it back. I'm going to let this chicken cool. I'm going to put it over here on the other counter and let it cool. And then I'll be deboning that a little bit later on. And cut my lid here. I'm going to let these vegetables cook. And then we're going to put a cup of rice and some tomato sauce in here, however much I think I need to make it have enough sauce to cook the rice. Then I'm going to put this lid on it and let it cook for about 30 minutes. So I'm going to get some mushrooms ready to go in there. Mushrooms are really very good for you too. Okay, so I'm going to add the mushrooms. And I'm going to put some Italian seasoning in. I'm just going to, coming out very well. Put about a teaspoon or so in my hand, and maybe a little more. And if I think I need more later on, I will add that to that. Now this will stir and cook these vegetables just a little bit, and then I'm going to put the rice in there and some tomato sauce. And my skillet is getting really full. This is why it's so hard for me to cook for one person. It's hard for me to do. Hard for me to cook for one person. Okay. I'm going to open this tomato sauce. And I'm going to go ahead, this is coming to a boil, so I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle this rice in here. This is minute rice, and that's 1 cup. that I've put in here. Like I said, there's not really a certain recipe for this. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. I like to do that when like I said, when I have some extra vegetables and things that I need to use up in the refrigerator, then that's what I like to do. It's just mix up some new dish. You guys should experiment with your vegetables and things and your meats and make you some new dishes. Okay, now I'm going to pour some tomato sauce in here. And it may take every bit of it. I don't think it's going to. And there's one other thing that I have to add because I've got tomato sauce in here. I have to add a little bit of sugar. Eric doesn't like anything sweet. He doesn't like me to put sugar in anything, like goulash or spaghetti or anything. But I don't put enough in there. Now I do in my meatloaf. I make my meatloaf really sweet, and it's so good. But I'm gonna put some butter in here. And some sugar. Put the butter on there and let it be melting. And I'm gonna use brown sugar. And this takes that little bit of the acid taste out of the tomato sauce and the tomatoes. And that's what I always do. I don't just sweeten it till it's really, really sweet, but just enough to take that tartness out. So that's gonna make it really good. And I think that we've pretty well got everything in there. Turn the light down. And then I'm gonna let this cook for about 30 minutes on simmer. That looks so good, and it's making me so hungry. So my lid's not quite big enough for my skillet. I may have to move that. I used to have some granite skillets that fit, or lids that fit my skillets, and I don't know what happened to them. Okay, yes, I'm going to cook this about 20 minutes and taste it. Cook it for 20 minutes and taste it, and I'm gonna set the timer. And that way, if I don't need to cook it any longer, I won't. There, 20 minutes. We'll see how that turns out. Then I'll be tasting it. And I'm gonna let this chicken cool down because it is too hot to debone. But it's gonna cool down, and then I'm gonna have some really good chicken meat to put in the freezer or in a casserole or whatever, but I'm gonna let it cool down. So, okay, I will come back in a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna whip up one more thing. I've got a box of Jiffy cornbread mix, which is really good if you don't wanna make it yourself and you're in a hurry, which I am. And I've got it in this container, this little mixing bowl, and I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of milk and an egg, okay? And I'm gonna stir that up with this wonderful Danish mixing paddle that Sylvia got me. Man, this mixes up that and nothing flat. Just mixed it right up. Okay. Now boy, that is so handy. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is make me a corn cake to go with this meal. And it is almost done. I don't even think it's gonna take 8 more minutes. It's just on the verge of being done. And I've already stirred it. I took a little taste to see if I had enough seasonings in it. And I do, and the Italian seasoning really makes it taste excellent. So, this is what I'm going to do. I've got the skillet on with a little Crisco in it, because sometimes Crisco just cooks things up a little better than olive oil, but I love olive oil, and that's what I use most of the time. Anyway, I'm gonna put a little corn cake in here. I've got this on simmer, but it's really going to town. I'm going to put him on the back burner. I don't mind it. And the rice was done. So, get out of there. And it doesn't take very long to cook these. You just mix them up and make sure your skillet's hot. And it will start to bubble up, kind of like a pancake, but not exactly. But that's how you can tell that it's getting done in the middle. And then you want to keep checked on it to make sure that it's not burning. But this will be really good with this Italian sausage dish. Sausage and rice and mushrooms and peppers and onions and tomatoes, and it's just going to be really, really good. And this cornbread is going to be so good to go with it. And a little butter on it. And I need to get my butter opened up. I do have it softened. Okay. Get me out a little dish. Uh-oh. I let it get too hot. I let it get too hot. I got it turned down. It doesn't take long for these iron skillets to heat up, but I'll probably do another one real quick. But you have to make sure your batter gets done in the middle, or it won't be good. My husband always liked his stuff really brown like this. So it would have been perfect for him if he was here, bless his little heart. It's going to be good anyway. But I'm going to do one more. And I believe it's done. I'm going to move it over here to the plate. Well, a smidgen. Whoops. I got that on about as low as it'll go. Put one more in here. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of olive oil around the edge. Oh, it's not staying on there very good. Okay. It don't take it long to start bubbling up, and it doesn't take it long to get brown when your skillet's already hot. But I'll put some butter on this. That's good. I don't want it to get too brown. I don't think that's too brown anyway. It's a little dark, but it's not, doesn't taste burnt or anything. Okay, I was worried about that, and it's not done in the middle. I'm just tearing that to pieces. They usually fry up a little better than that, but I think it's because I'm trying to hurry. And I'm going to get some butter on here. I'm just nibbling at this and eating away at it. I'm going to eat that one. Anywho. And it don't matter if it breaks up like that. It's okay. It still tastes good. Now I'm going to turn the light off on this one, and it'll continue to cook because the skillet is so hot. I'm just going to leave it right there. Turn this off. And I'm going to put a little bit of that in my plate. We're going to go sit down over here and have a bite. Then I will go ahead and pick that chicken off, and all I'm going to do is pick it off the bone, put it in bags, and put it in the freezer. So, and it's real easy to get off the bone after it's been cooked like that. Ooh. I'll take you over here with me real quick. I took the skin off of this one so you could see. And I mean, it just comes off in a snap. There's a gristle on here somewhere that you don't want to get in your meat. But there's the whole deal. And then you can leave it whole like this, or you can break it up in pieces. There's a little gristly thing in there, but there's your meat off of the bone. And that's what I'm going to do to the rest of it. I've got to go shut this off. Our time is up. And I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. We're gonna go have a bite. I like to try to keep my dishes washed up as I go, and then you don't have quite as big a mess. I don't know if you guys do that or not, but if you keep your dishes washed up, it's just easier on you. Okay, I'm gonna get a fork out of the drawer here. And we'll go here to the table. I'm going to put a little bit of butter on this one in the skillet so that it'll be ready if I want to eat it later with some, already have the butter on it. I just keep standing up here in your way. So good. Okay. Let's go in here to the table. Put an onion on the table. Turn the light on. Hope I'm not making you guys dizzy. Oh dear, making me dizzy. Okay, I'm gonna taste this Italian sausage and rice. I guess that's what we'll name it. Mm. Mm. That is really good. That you can taste the Italian seasoning, the sausage, the peppers, the onions, the mushrooms, and the rice. It's really, really good. And a bite of that sweet cornbread. Mm. Like I said, you can make up anything you want. I was just kind of using stuff up in my refrigerator because it needed to be used, and I didn't want any of it to go to waste. And you can do that. You can put things in there that you like best. I hope you give it a try, because it's really good. Okay, I will see you later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.